Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season premiere of Orphan Black, and as well as the latest episode of The 100. Starting off with Orphan Black, they started off this season like confusing me because I was like, "Whoa, you're in the bed with Paul." It's like, what? No, Paul's dead. No, we're going back to the beginning. We're seeing basically what led up to Beth's death. Basically, it covered a lot of stuff we already knew that you ended up finding out like in season one. Which, luckily for me, I love it when stuff is fresher in my mind, so I'm remembering a lot of stuff because I recently binged on the first 3 seasons because I'd only seen like up to about halfway to season 2, so this like from like the second half to season 2 all the way to season 3 was kind of new for me. But anyway, but a lot of that stuff was fresher in my mind, so it's very interesting, like because they brought up a lot of stuff from season 1. In this particular episode, she was dealing with a case that was brought to her by another clone named MK. Essentially, the way it makes it seem is MK is the one that kind of brought Beth in on the whole clone thing, which was brought up in this episode that Beth was the one that brought Cosima and Allison in. I don't know why. I was under the impression Cosima and Allison were already connected and that they brought Beth in. It's like, oh, we went to her because she, we found out she was a cop. I mean, granted, her being a cop helped everything, but it was actually Beth who brought them into that world, which, it's interesting because in this episode, we're actually kind of seeing her kind of unravel, seeing her spiraling. Like, she's hitting those pills hard. I was looking at it, I was like, those are pills. Why are you crushing them up? I was like, they're probably crushing them up, probably most likely get you higher, since it's no longer in a pill form, it's straight, powder. The effects probably hit you harder. But it's like, man, you see her popping pills multiple times through this episode, and it's just like she's unraveling. It's like you've heard of just how much, she was kind of how much crap was happening, so she was kind of a little on edge, but it's like you physically get to see it, which is very interesting because when you break it down, because I saw a little bit of it during the commercials, it's like, this is actually Tatiana's like first time actually like fully playing Beth when you actually think about it. She's played Beth in snippets. This is like a full episode of her playing Beth. She's never really done that before, which is kind of cool because Beth is a character we've never really got to know. We saw her in a little bit in the first episode. You've seen her a little bit in those videos of her and Paul, and then a little bit when Sarah was kind of like halfway dead and she was talking to Beth. So other than that, we don't really get a taste of like a sense of knowing who Beth is, and we got to in this episode. Which also her and Art, that thing went a lot further than I thought it did. Like, because Art had admitted to Sarah that he loved Beth, which is why that whole Maggie Chen situation, why he helped her, is not just because she was his partner. He was in love with her. They slept together too. I didn't expect that. It's like, I thought like, oh, it was kind of like an unrequited thing, like it was from far away and nothing was said about it. Like he kept his feelings bottled up. No, he acted upon those feelings. Granted, she was kind of like dealing with the whole Paul situation, which was crazy. Like, she basically called him out. She's like, oh, you're hollow, Paul. You can't even look at me. Basically, because, Paul was kind of disgusted with himself. Because he can't look at her because he doesn't love her, but she did in fact love him. But she's like, basically, you don't see me. Kind of like Paul kind of sees through her. He looks at her as nothing more than a mission, and he keeps it that way. But that was a point where she even pulled a gun on Paul and like at the back of his head. I was like, whoa, I didn't know it got to that point. I mean, because this episode started with her already, being told by MK to like suspect Paul. And it's like, wow. You got to see her get surveillance equipment. Another slight interesting thing that came up in this episode, I didn't know Cosima was dating, before everything went down. Like, I mean, granted, that's probably something they just, obviously filled in, but I thought that was kind of interesting because Cosima was actually dating someone. She was actually a little homeless beforehand. because Allison hadn't given her money for her tuition, so she kind of didn't have anywhere to live at the time. Um, Allison kind of micromanaging everything, and you see Beth kind of being the kind of in betweener. Like it is kind of interesting, like how she kind of it's kind of a different dynamic almost than like their dynamic with Beth. I mean, with Sarah, because it's like with Beth, it seems with Beth she cared about them, but it's like I don't know. To me, it felt like she kind of kept them at a distance. Like she kept a lot of stuff to herself. She didn't open up to them, in comparison to Sarah, who like, got really close to like Cassima and Allison, became a part of their lives. Seems like Beth kind of didn't, but maybe she just couldn't bring herself to do it because she's like, as the protector of this group, I have to keep my distance so I keep a clearer head. I don't know. That's how I'm interpreting that. Because she does actually regret bringing Allison and Cassima into this because it's like she's like, life is already screwed up as it is enough for me. Now I'm bringing these two into this world as well. And we end up finding out basically the case that Beth was working on prior to her death. It was a neovolutionist. I never know if I'm saying that right. Is it neovolutionist or neo? You know who I'm talking about. Basically, it deals with a bunch of modifiers who ended up, dying. Particularly, one of the victims was that dude who, a piece of his cheek missing, and apparently a modified penis. It's like, why would you do that to yourself? I felt a little uncomfortable hearing that. She's like, the medical examiner, she was looking at him like, whoa. It's just like, oh, dude, why would you do that, dude? But then it's like, hey, man, to each their own, right? But this case ended up, it seems, that it deals with those little worm things. That guy, Delphine, shot at it in the last episode of season 3. He had that little worm thing coming out of his mouth. Apparently, that's why they cut the victim's cheek out. It's because they've been growing those inside of those other nevolutionists. I mean, the nevolutionists have been kind of growing it inside of the quote-unquote freaky leakies. Which in this episode, we actually saw Beth actually talking to Leaky, which is weird. It's weird. That's another thing. It's like, it's weird seeing faces of people, are dead, currently dead. It's kind of weird. It's weird seeing Paul, Leaky. What was that dude's name? The one with the pigtail. I completely forgot his name. He even said it in this episode. I forgot it before he said it, and now that he said it again, I still forgot it. But it's so weird, and it's just, I actually thought the episode was going to go all the way up to, like, her jumping off, because it's like, I would have loved to, like, truth be told this, I would have loved to know what exactly happened before Beth jumped off that, train station. Maybe in this season, we'll get little flashes to, like, it'd be present day and, Beth, present day, then Beth. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe this was the only thing we got, but I would have loved to know, like, we get to that point, we see exactly what happened, the day that she ended up killing herself, and, when she saw Sarah, like, what exactly went through her mind before she jumped in front of that train. But the episode ended with MK coming to Art and telling her that they're coming after, Castor / Lita, essentially, Mrs. S's mom, that they know where they're hiding and that they're coming. I think it's the Nevolutionists are coming after them, so they need to run. Which there was apparently a detective that was a part of that too, because we saw him. Beth kind of realizing, because she saw him with the two that are responsible for that guy dying, so there's a detective on it, so that's probably going to, like, play a part into Art's story. Art's story too is probably going to be him coming across that guy, which is another interesting thing too. In this episode, we actually got inside of the department again. We haven't been, like, directly inside. We've been outside of it, but haven't been inside since season 1, so that was kind of cool. But it makes sense why you'd have to be inside, because it is Beth's, this dealt, like, because that's what it was always connected to. Anything that dealt heavily with Beth, especially Sarah pretending to be Beth, obviously had to take place in a police station. So, but now that she's no longer outright pretending to be Beth anymore, there's no reason to be inside of there, so. But really nice episode. Cannot wait to see where this season takes us. Now, moving on to this week's episode of the 100. Basically, the group is trying to decide what to do with Raven. They're trying to save Raven because she's still being controlled by Allie. They take her to, I forgot her name. She's the grounder who Clark kind of had a little bit of a tryst with. She had a bit of a thing with her at the beginning of the season. She actually hit Clark earlier on. Granted, Clark ended up getting captured, but still. We end up finding out her dad was one of the people Bellamy, as well as Pike and his people, killed. And essentially, they're hiding out there and trying to find a way to save Raven. Basically, Clark, because the team kind of everyone kind of gets informed about the situation, and basically they use another bracelet to try and get her, try to get Allie out of her head. A lot of stuff went down in this episode. It dealt heavily with the burdens that Clark and Bellamy have to deal with. Because, Bellamy with the whole shooting thing, as well, when he helped Pike kill all those grounders, as well as Clark and the Mount Weather situation. Like, that's not ever going to leave them, and people aren't going to let them forget what they did. It's like, they're already struggling with that. They act like, it's not like that doesn't constantly pop into their head. You have Jasper bringing it up to Clark, because Clark's like, I did it. Like, I'm sorry that it happened. I didn't want things to go the way they did. But I had to save our people. And Jasper's like, I could have saved everyone. And Clark's like, no, you couldn't. I wish you could have. And it's just like, I get it why Jasper's pissed, but it's like, she couldn't help the situation. Like, in those situations, you do what's best for you. You can't, not best for you. You try to find the best solution. Like, her people were about to be killed. It's like, it was them or her people, and she chose her people. And sadly, that meant a lot of the people that helped them out, including Maya, ended up dying. But, and she'll just have to live with that. And Bellamy, with the whole shooting people thing, shooting all those grounders, he apologized to the girl, but she's like, people like you are always apologizing, because, it's like, because to Bellamy, it really hits him, because, like, him and Clark, they did what they had to protect their people. Because he even brings it up in the episode. He's like, do you think, essentially, are there any good guys in this situation? Us, like, at what point do you think, you stop being a good guy and wondering if you're doing the right thing? And essentially, Clark was like, there are no good guys in this. We're simply surviving. There's no good guys on any side. At least that's how she looks at it, which is kind of interesting, because that's all this is. It's survival. And a lot of crap goes down when you're simply trying to survive. But, high points, standout moments of the episode is when Raven, broke her arm or dislocated her shoulder, which I couldn't help but cringe at that. It was just like, oh, and she did it with, like, no hesitation. It was just kind of a bam, bam, simple thing as a way of trying to just get free. It's like she can't feel it because of Allie, but still. She trying to mess with people's heads. She actually got into Clark's head, bringing up all the stuff Clark's done, all the people she's like, basically, like, Clark does nothing but bring death. She's like, let's not forget Finn died because of you. That, the whole situation with Mount Weather. She's like, everyone around you died. Even brought up her dad. And then you have her messing with Jasper and then Bellamy too. So it's just like, granted that wasn't her, but it just shows you just how manipulative Allie is. Like, she has access to their memories. So she basically was able to have Raven say what she needed to just to get underneath their skin, to push them in a direction so that they would reveal, like, what they're doing and where they are, which sadly ended up happening. But it's like, it's crazy just thinking of, like, how, it's just like, it kind of irks your nerves just thinking about how she manipulates them like that. Because she knows their weaknesses, she knows how to get to them. And sadly, Monty ended up having to kill his mom this episode because she was about to kill Octavia, and it's like, because prior to this, Octavia was talking about leaving because she doesn't know where to go. She's not a part of Tree Crew. She's not a part of Sky Crew. She's on her own. The only person she had, left for her was Lincoln. All there was her and Lincoln. And now that he's gone, what's there left for her? Monty brings up the fact is that you are one part of the 100, But she's like, not anymore. But, Monty ended up having to kill his mom because it was the only way to stop his mom from hurting Octavia. Like, he shot her in the arm, but because they don't feel pain, she just kept going and just like, no, and had to put her down. It even breaks his heart later on when they're able to save Raven, because they slit, the back of her neck, just like that's how they pulled it out of Lexa, the commander key out of Lexa's neck. That kind of got Clark thinking about it. So when they cut her open, the chip kind of bleeds out because they fried it. Whatever was left in there kind of oozed out, which kind of saved Raven. But it bothered Monty because it's like, Monty's like, I could have saved my mom. And it's like, in that situation, dude, you couldn't have, because it's like, at that time they didn't know, like, didn't think that it would, you wouldn't think it worked the exact same way. And finally, at the end, Raven explains why Allie wanted her to kill herself. Because, Allie was like, I can't let them know what you know. And what that is that the second AI, the reason why she wants it is because the second AI is the only thing that can stop her. And basically, Thelonious is like, we have to capture the group. But Allie's like, no, with Raven's smart, so if she gets enough time with what she already knows about Allie, if she gets enough time, she'll be able to use the second AI to kill her. And it's just like, we have no choice, we have to kill them. So this group is screwed. It's like, I don't know if they can necessarily go to the Grounders for help, because it's like, the Grounders aren't going to help them after the whole Pike situation. Granted, they have Pike, but that probably won't change anything, especially, knowing that Bellamy, is part of that too. And they can't go back to Arcadia because everyone's underneath Allie's control. So it's like, honestly, they're kind of on their own in this situation, which is kind of sad, I don't know. I feel like there are probably some people, obviously people within the Grounders that they can trust and probably go to, but it's like, other than that, like, they're kind of on their own. So, like, and now that Arcadia essentially is going to be coming after them full force, trying to kill them, not capture them, kill them, things are just going to get harder from here. So it's like, I can't wait to see where everything goes. There can only be like a couple more episodes this season, not unless they boosted the number of episodes. Typically, the show's only like 13 episodes per season, but iZombie this season went up to 19 or 20 episodes when the previous season was 13. So maybe this one boosted too, or maybe it went to, it's only 13. So obviously we're getting closer and closer to that. And maybe, like I said, I haven't seen the full number of episodes this season. So, but that's really all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.